Hello, how are you? Are you all right? I hope you had a good few days and a nice weekend, because down here the weather has been spot on and so warm today that actually you could have me for Trey's description, because I didn't light the fire, but I thought, well, I'll just have some candles going. I hope that's enough for you. Thank you so much for last week, and the response has been so lovely. Thank you. It's very appreciated, and it's nice to know I'm not reading to an empty space, but it's keeping me out of trouble, so that's good. So we finished New Beginnings, didn't we, last week, or at least as far as I could get in a week. So this week the new book is The Holiday Home, and down here, of course, there are lots of holiday homes, and this is the story of two sisters whose parents have a holiday home in Cornwall, and they're each fighting each other for who gets the house if and when the time comes. See? Anyway, okay, let's hear about the house. This is 1988. Take yourself back. I was first married in 1988. There you go. I've been married for a very long time, just not to the same person, as you know. So there we go. Here we go. The house is called Atlantic House. I think the clue is in the name. The husk of a dead fly lay dry and brittle on the sun-bleached oak windowsill. The house was silent and empty in the drowsiness of the bright spring morning. If its almost 300-year-old walls harboured any memories of previous occupants, the weddings and the wakes, conceptions and christenings that had taken place here, there was no sign. Where rich brocade curtains had once hung from the tall windows, there clung trailing cobwebs. The days when handsome young men in tight breeches and high-collared frock coats, think Bridgerton, that was good, wasn't it? Anyway, high-collared frock coats had wooed maidens in muslin dresses were a thing of the past. Maybe the rustle of petticoats along the top landing could still be heard, but only by the tattered moths. In the musty bedrooms, patches of insidious damp crept ever outward, their spread unobserved and unchecked. In the cellars, the dark, dank, seaweed-scented stone walls were covered in a glistening silvery scrawl marking the passage of slugs and snails. The worn steps, hewn out of the rocky floor, descended into darkness, and the sounds of the waves lapping against the walls of a natural cave beneath the house. On moonless nights, 200 years ago, smugglers would time their arrival for high tide, steering their vessels through the opening in the rocks on the beach, where the waves surged in and on into the torchlit cavern where their cargo of contraband brandy, tobacco and lace would be unloaded, away from the prying eyes of the revenue men. Only the odd holidaymaker ventured into the cave nowadays, but a rockfall 20 metres from the beach entrance prevented them from reaching the forgotten cave under the house. The sea, however, continued as it always had done, ebbing and flowing into the recesses below Atlantic House. In the old days, the gentleman of the house would welcome his gang of smugglers and lead them up the stone steps into an innocent-looking outhouse. A fortified wooden door would then open into the garden. To the left was the back door of the house, now stiff with salt and age, which led into the kitchen. In front of the old hearth of the kitchen and the chimney still blackened by the fires of countless cooks, smugglers might have had their wounds attended to by the lady of the house, and if the revenue men whose guns had caused the wounds came knocking, the fugitive would stay hidden in the cool of the pantry while the gentleman and his lady entertained them. Today, the ancient range, once the beating heart of the house, was cold, its doors seized with rust and its hot plates covered in sootfalls. Out in the garden, wild with broom, tamarisk, escalonia and fuchsia, the lawn bore no resemblance to the croquet pitch it had once been between the two world wars. These days it was a Cornish meadow, giving onto a buckthorn and gorse hedge. The weathered wooden gate, which had once banged so gaily on its sprung hinge. Dear me, I'm so sorry. Let me do that again. The weathered wooden gate, which had once banged so gaily on its sprung hinge with the constant traffic of beach-bound children, now drooped sadly. As he placed the heavy key in the lock, estate agent Trevor Castle took in the commanding elevated position overlooking the much sought-after Treviscombe beach. The key refused to budge. Trevor leaned against the studded oak front door, gave the key a twist and tried again. Still nothing. Bending down, he laid his clipboard, camera and retractable tape measure on the worn flagstones, and using both hands now, he managed to get the reluctant key to turn. As he pushed open the heavy door, a horrible squeal of protest from the unoiled hinges gave him a little fright. He steadied himself and carried on pushing. Something was blocking the door. When he had created a big enough gap to squeeze his head through, he paused for a moment, bracing himself for the prospect of a rotting corpse on the other side of the door, but to his relief, when his eyes adjusted to the darkness, he made out a pile of faded circulars and junk mail wedged against it. Chuckling at his stupidity, Trevor bent his full weight against the door and heaved until the opening was wide enough for him to step into the house. He stooped to clear the blockage and then returned to the porch to collect his estate agent tackle. With the door now wide open, the sun poured in, lighting up the impressive oak-panelled hall and spilling into the open doorway of the grand drawing room ahead, with its breathtaking view down to the ocean. "Wow! Hello, house," Trevor said out loud. He stepped into the hall, stirred ancient dust motes, but he didn't feel any gust of wind. But the front door banged shut so loudly behind him he gave an involuntary jump and a yelp of fright. Hand resting on his pounding heart, he exhaled with relief. "Whew, steady on, Treff, old boy. Buddy boy, it's only the wind." This was his first solo trip since joining Trish Hawkes and daughter property agents. After weeks of trailing around after Trish, she had finally deemed him ready enough to go and measure and photograph a house by himself. "Yes, Atlantic House will be a good one to start you off," she'd announced, reaching round to the key cabinet and unhooking a large, obviously antique key. "Empty, no bloody occupying owner to interfere." "Has it been vacant long?" he'd asked. Trish had smiled, but there had been an uncharacteristic reticence about her as she'd replied, "About 10 years or so, I think." 10 years? But it says, here is a seafront location with its own private cliff path to the beach. Well, a place like that shouldn't stay empty for 10 minutes. Well, there was a bit of sadness in the family. A child had an accident or something. Anyway, the surviving daughter has just inherited and wants to get rid. Okie dokie. Trev had been full of confidence as he had collected the heavy key from Trisha's hand. Let's make money. He'd sauntered out of the office, conscious of Trish's eyes following him as he made his way to the car park. He reckoned he created a favourable impression, smartly dressed in a grey suit, with matching grey shoes, his hair carefully gelled and coiffed, aftershave strong, but not unpleasantly so, he hoped. Remember, this is 1988. Little did he know that Trish considered him the epitome of the 80s wide boy, complete with aspirations of an XR3i Ford Escort. Didn't we all? And a cabriolet if he could afford it, and a fortnight in Magaluf, or Shagaloof, as she'd overheard him say when she walked in as he was on the phone to one of his mates. But the frown wrinkling her brow as he disappeared round the corner of Trevay Harbour had not been prompted by any doubt about his abilities. It was a pang of guilt that Trish, asking herself whether she'd done the right thing in sending him out to Atlantic House. But then, he was a strapping lad, he was 23, he'd be fine, wouldn't he? Rather him than her. Having decided to start at the top of the house and work his way down, Trevor strode across the hallway. His footsteps sounded heavy on the bare wooden treads as he climbed the wide staircase. On the landing, he stopped and counted 8 doors, all closed. The door to his left opened into a good-sized bedroom with a view over the driveway and the lane. He measured up, took a couple of photos, and jotted down a brief description to be written up in more flowery prose later. He carried on to the next room, a huge lavatory with a cracked wooden square of a seat and a chain-handled flush. The iron cistern above had been painted in many layers of cream paint, but he could just make out the maker's name and a date, 1934. Next door to that was a bathroom with an enormous deep bath in the corner. Brown stains marred the porcelain under the bulbous antique taps, but when he turned one on, there was no water. The adjacent door led to a bedroom at the side of the house with a pretty sea view. The middle door, bang opposite the stairs, opened onto a magnificent master bedroom, with French windows leading out to a balcony, offering a stunning view of Treviscombe Beach and the Atlantic Ocean beyond. The key was still in the lock and turned reasonably easy, so Trevor opened the door to the balcony and stepped out into the light sea breeze. Now this was more like it. He tested the handrail. The wood seemed solid enough, apart from a few splinters pricking his palms. Holding on in order to steady himself, he bounced lightly on the wooden floor. It bounced back. Oh, well, this house was going to be a money pit, but it would surely be worth it, he thought. Trevor stood basking in the breeze for a moment, fantasizing that the house was his. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply of the warm, fresh air. Opening his eyes, he leaned over the balcony to take a look at the garden and the terrace below. Suddenly, the wood beneath his hand gave way, tipping him into empty space. As he lunged forward, his scrabbling hand somehow managed to grasp one of the supporting uprights. There was a clank from below as the broken rail hit the flagstone terrace. Bloody Nora! Beads of sweat broke out on his tanned forehead. Trevor cleaned the floorboards of the balcony and made it back to the safety of the master bedroom in a single stride, shutting the balcony door behind him, relieved that no one had seen his brush with death, yet at the same time shuddering at the thought of how long it would have taken for anyone to come to his aid. He stood with his back against the window, waiting for his breathing to return to normal. Get a grip, Trev, he told himself. After carefully relocking the door, he set about measuring the room, followed by a further 3 bedrooms, all with either a sea view, a garden view, or a view of the drive. When that was done, he returned to the ground floor. Even in its dilapidated state, the drawing room was impressive with its high ceiling and generous window seats either side of the French windows opening onto the terrace. Looking out, Trevor saw the broken piece of handrail lying innocently on the stone. Feeling another frisson of fear, he immediately turned his back on it, trying to put it out of his mind. After measuring the drawing room, he turned his attention to the study, followed by a charming morning room with an inglenook fireplace and an intimate dining room with a plaster frieze of grapes around the Cornish ceiling. At the far end of the kitchen, which surely hadn't been updated since Queen Victoria's coronation, a tongue-and-groove door with a wrought iron latch stood ajar. He went to it and saw it led to an old pantry or larder with original worktops made of slabs of marble. This, he imagined, was where butter, milk and meat would have been stored in hot weather. Again, he set to work with his notebook and measuring tape, talking to himself as he recorded the details. When he finished measuring and checked his watch, he was surprised to discover that almost 3 hours had passed since he'd left the office, and he still had the garden to do. Locking up the front door and pocketing the key, Trevor fought his way through the thicket of dead grass and brambles, round to the sea-facing side of the house. And how wonderful it looked from this angle with the setting sun reflected in the windows, making the house glow as if it were illuminated from within and full of life. Never in his brief career had Trevor been asked to measure a garden of this size. His puny tape measure was clearly inadequate for the task, so he decided instead to stride around the perimeter, counting each step as a metre. He hadn't gone far before he lost count, the number falling from his memory as soon as he saw the old fortified wooden door in the side of the house. Natural curiosity and the desire to faithfully record every room led him to descend the 4 stone steps to the door. Half hoping to find it locked, he was surprised when it opened easily, releasing an aroma of sea damp and age that seemed to envelop him. The interior was pitch dark, and he could hear the distant sound of the sea coming up from below. In the light of the setting sun, he struggled to make out the odd-shaped room, which seemed almost cave-like. As he stepped over the threshold, he felt a prickling at the base of his spine. Not fear, quite, but a warning not to go any further. After his unnerving experience on the balcony, Trevor decided it might be wise to let the surveyor check this one out. Closing the door behind him, he scampered up the steps away from the gloom and into the daylight. On the drive back to the office, he rehearsed the story he would tell Trish. Best to leave out the brush with death and the dark forebodings, he decided. As far as Trish was concerned, the house was a gem, in need of renovation, but a unique opportunity to acquire a charming period home with stunning aspects. Yes, that should do nicely on the particulars. Right. Oh my goodness, do you know that was 16 minutes? I only thought I was doing 10. I'm so sorry. I've overdone myself. Look, right, enjoy the rest of your evening for your... I can't even read. I can't speak. I can't read. I'm sorry about all the fluff, so think of those as typos. Yeah, please join me tomorrow when we'll go for all the new people who want to buy the house are coming down to have a look at it. All right? Right. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Hello, it's Tuesday. Are you ready for another chapter of the holiday home? I just realised I didn't light the little candles, so hang on. Oh, why don't I just light it from there? Yes, one of you said that, didn't you? I heard you. Thank you for that. Right, here we go. So, oh, it's the ghosts in here. They're blowing out the candles. Come on. I need some handy child to help me. Are any of you watching? Help me just like this. Oh, you did. Thank you. Can you help me with this one as well? Can you like this one? No, it's not going to do it. No. Okay, that's a very naughty candle. We're looking at him again. Or we might tomorrow. I'll try it. Anyway, welcome to Tuesday. And yeah, the holiday home. So now the new owners, they're not owners yet, but they're coming to have a look at it, okay? They're from London and they're very happy and they've got some money. Here we go. On the other side of Bodmin, past the wildness of the moor, the scenery grew gentler. Now they were travelling through a verdant countryside of fields and farms. The Aston got stuck behind a tractor dripping slurry from its huge wheels. The smell of ammonia made Dorothy's eyes water. Henry started to get frustrated. He accelerated and braked and weaved in and out of his side of the road, banging the steering wheel with his string-gloved hand. "Pull over, you village idiot," he snarled. Dorothy saw the time was to have words. "Henry, do you want me to be sick on the cream leather? Besides, shouldn't you be trying to make friends with the locals?" Grumbling, he attempted patience, and by the time the old farmer pulled into a small lay-by, waving them through, Henry was almost amiable. He had barely finished waving a gracious acknowledgement when he found himself stuck behind a bus. That's Cornwall for you. "What do you want to bring bloody buses down these lanes for?" he growled. Dorothy laid a hand on his knee. "If we are going to live here, we have to accept this pace of life." Eventually the bus stopped and Henry throttled past. The roads narrowed into lanes, and the closer they got to the coast, they got narrower and narrower. The hedges, studded with primroses, rose high above them. Signposts boldly announcing "Trevay, 5 miles." But as anyone knows, 5 Cornish miles can mean anything between 2 and 20. Dorothy consulted her map and raised her voice to be heard above the wind. We don't want to get into Trevay itself. There'll be a turning on the left to Lower Barton first. The Aston, stroking the vegetation between the narrow hedgerows, navigated the route to Lower Barton with its beautiful church and pub, and then on to Higher Barton with its small supermarket, post office, pasty shop and garage, and finally down the unmade stony road to Treviscombe Bay. And there, gleaming in the afternoon sun, stood the most wonderful house that Dorothy and Henry had ever set eyes on. Its large sash windows and porticoed front door seduced them immediately. Yes, the roof line was sagging, several slates were missing, and the garden was badly overgrown, but they knew even before setting foot inside the door that they had to have it. The front door opened and a young man stepped out to greet them. Mr. and Mrs. Carew, hello, I'm Trevor from Hawke's Property Agents. Come in and welcome. Inside, the house was cool. There was a faint smell of damp, but the rooms were spacious and filled with sunlight. Henry and Dorothy took in the grandeur of the panelled hall and then followed Trevor into the high-ceilinged drawing room. If they weren't hopelessly in love with Atlantic House already, the breathtaking view of the ocean from the French windows sealed the deal. Careful not to sound too enthusiastic, they let Trevor escort them through the downstairs rooms and up to the bedrooms and ancient bathrooms. No words passed between Henry and Dorothy. They didn't need to discuss it. They knew this house was for them. Back in the hall, Trevor said, Shall I leave you to have a walk round on your own? Oh, I think we've seen enough, Henry said in a weary voice. There's a hell of a lot that needs doing. What can be done on the asking price? This is a highly desirable property that's attracting a great deal of interest. Both men knew this was a lie, but it was expected, the opening gambit of the duel. I think it's very unlikely the vendor will drop the price, parted Trevor before delivering a clumsy blow. In fact, I think it's fair to say that a bidding war has already started. Dorothy looked pleadingly at Henry, who had begun to reach into his pocket for his car keys. I haven't come all this way to be held over a barrel. I'm a serious buyer, prepared to pay cash. Take it or leave it. Mr. Carew, the agent stopped him. I'm sure that if you were to make a hard and fast offer this afternoon, the vendor could be persuaded to come to some arrangement, especially when I tell her you are a cash buyer. Yes, okay, let's do that. Why don't you follow me back to my office in Trevay and I'll see if we can't have the deal done by tonight. In the car, Dorothy had time to air her thoughts. Please don't let this house get away, she beseeched. It'll cost a fortune to bring the place up to scratch. Besides, I'm not about to be made a monkey of by some venal estate agent who takes me for a wealthy Londoner. But you are a wealthy Londoner. Yes, dear, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know that, does he? Well, what do you suppose he thinks this car is then? A Reliant Robin? Henry Carew, you're driving an Aston Martin. Your cover is blown. So, subject to a surveyor's report and the usual searches, the deal was concluded that afternoon. Trevor, glowing with satisfaction and looking forward to working out his commission as soon as the buyers were out of the way, stood up to shake hands. Congratulations, he said. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask. Dorothy, who was putting her scarf on, paused. Actually, there is something. I'd love to know more about the history of the house. Trevor looked over at his boss. Trish, where would Mrs. Carew be able to find out all about the history of the house? Trish, who had suddenly developed a keen interest in the contents of her desk drawer, seemed a little flustered as she replied, Well, the library would be the best place to start, and we have a very good local museum. And then she looked up and met their gaze. Actually, there is something you should know. A young girl died in the house. It happened about 10 years ago. It's her sister who's selling the house. Dorothy stopped, fiddling with her scarf. Died? How? Illness? Accident? Murder? Oh, no, nothing sinister. No, it was a drowning, poor thing. Trish turned to Trevor. Did you show Mr. and Mrs. Carew the smuggler's cave? Trevor blushed. Oh, I thought I'd leave that to the surveyor. Smuggler's cave? Questioned Henry, sounding fascinated. Where is it? Well, the entrance is in the garden and on the beach, but there are steps leading under the house into a cave, and at one time there was a passage or cavern that led out onto the beach somewhere, but I think it's blocked off now, said Trish. Dorothy wanted to know more about the dead girl. Did she die in the cave? Oh, I can't remember all the details. I believe she'd been playing in the cave when it happened. Either the tide came in or she slipped, I'm not sure. It was in the papers at the time. The library will have copies. Henry saw that this news had upset Dorothy, and he's put his arm round her. Come on, old girl. We'll make Atlantic House a happy home again. He turned back to Trish and Trevor. Right, well, I think my wife deserves a slap-up meal to celebrate. Where's the best place to have dinner and stay the night? Over the following weeks, Dorothy threw herself into researching the history of the house. The coroner's inquest into the death of 14-year-old Claire Clavelli returned a verdict of misadventure. She had apparently hidden in the cave following a row with her family. Nobody was sure exactly what had happened, but the most likely explanation was that she had slipped on the slimy rocks, banged her head, and drowned. I think we'd better block the cave up, Henry said. Dorothy was fearful. Well, I don't want Constance or Prudence going down there. Oh, our girls will be fine. They're far too sensible to mess about down there. Dorothy was adamant. Block it up. Henry gave no answer. He had already instructed the builders to open the cave up. With the high tide access for a small vessel to sail in and out, it would be the perfect place to put a boat. There, my dearios, is today's instalment. Will you join me tomorrow? I think we might still have some good weather. I hope you're having some good weather. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, so yeah, I look forward to it. Go and get yourself a drink, have some supper, have a great night. Look after yourselves, and I shall see you tomorrow by my candle. And if there are any children around who'd like to help me light these candles tomorrow, just think, yeah, well, we'll do that tomorrow. Anyway, lots of love. See you then. Bye. Hello. How's your Wednesday been? Been okay? I hope so. Yes, good. Put all your worries out of the door just for 10 minutes while we listen to a bit of a story. And also, I've got one more candle to light here that I couldn't get lit last night. So if there's any child, just go wish, wish, wish on this match, and with a bit of luck, put the magic on it. Lovely. Let's get this lit here. Ooh. And I think the wick has gone a bit peculiar. Oh, well, up. Yes, I think you're getting it. Well done. You did it. It's done. Can you see it? There are 4 candles there. Right. Thank you for that. That was very helpful. Now, where are we doing? So, you know that Henry and Dorothy have got the house now, and that a small young 14-year-old girl 10 years before has died in the cave under the house because she might have knocked her head and drowned. Anyway, here we go. They've got the builders coming now. It took all that summer and autumn for the builders to do their stuff, but by the following Easter, the house was reborn. Upstairs had been remodelled so that each of the 6 bedrooms had its own bathroom. Henry and Dorothy's room was the grandest, commanding a stunning view from its brand new balcony. The next best was the blue room, which was cool and sophisticated, with double aspect windows overlooking the beach and the bay. The yellow room was bright and sunny, but slightly smaller, and it had only one sash window that looked out onto the garden and the gate to the cliff path. The remaining bedrooms were smaller still and looked onto farm buildings and the driveway. Downstairs, the huge kitchen was once again the heart of the house. Simply done with a scrubbed wooden dresser and enormous table, it was dominated by the scarlet 6-oven Aga, which had replaced the rusty old range. The roomy walk-in larder had been retained, along with the original flagstones, which had cleaned up a treat. And new French windows had been installed in the sea-facing wall of the kitchen, opening out onto the terrace. They'd also knocked through the old walls separating the kitchen from the dining room, which had in turn been merged with the drawing room, creating a glorious flow of light and space, all that stuff. The study now doubled as a rumpus room for the girls and their school friends who would join them for summer holidays. It was the very epitome of 80s chic. Outside, the ancient back door led to a newly planted herb garden and Henry's pride and joy, the renovated smuggler's cave. The curious room above ground was cool enough to house his wine cellar, and the steep stone steps leading down to the cavern had been made safe. "Mind your head," he told Dorothy as he led her by the hand, the light from his torch bouncing off the dimpled walls. "The electrician is putting lights in next week." "Well, I still don't like it, Henry. You shouldn't have wasted time and money on this. It would have been better blocked up. It scares me." "Don't be silly, old thing. It's exciting. Smugglers and redcoats and all that stuff. A slice of Cornish history right in our own backyard." Dorothy's concern was writ large across her forehead. "I don't want to be proved right on this, Henry. It's an accident waiting to happen." Henry patted her arm reassuringly. "I promise you there's nothing to fear. Besides, the children aren't little anymore. They're teenagers. So stop worrying." The steps took a twist and a turn, and then opened out into the natural boathouse beneath the cliffs. "Ta-da!" Henry stretched out his right hand, and Dorothy saw something bobbing on the water. "What the hell is that?" she said, squinting in the gloom. "That, my dear, is a 1967 Reaver, the best speedboat money can buy. And you see," he pointed at the floor, "I had the lads concrete a level jetty on the old rock ledge so we can tie her up and get on and off easily." The torchlight picked out the jetty and the polished wooden hull. Dorothy could make out cream leather seats and a shiny wooden steering wheel. "How much?" she said in an angry voice. "Well, it's a present to us from our company. We deserve a little toy." "You and your bloody toys. That is not a board game. That's a monstrous waste of money." Henry was crestfallen. "Well, I thought you'd be pleased. I can take you and the girls out for trips around the coast and picnics on secluded beaches." "Well, that's another thing," she rounded on him. "Can you even drive the bloody thing?" Henry smiled. "Ah, well, yes, you see, I've booked the whole family on a seamanship course." Dorothy pursed her lips. "Well, don't you want to know what she's called?" he asked her. "Nope." "Look, darling," he urged, pointing towards the boat. She shook her head in disbelief as she picked out the golden letters painted on the stern. Dorothy. Dorothy scowled. Henry kissed her. She frowned. He hugged her. Finally, the beginnings of a smile reached her lips. "You're mad and bad, but lovely to know, Henry Carew. No greater compliment was ever received. Thank you." Henry and Dorothy were very pleased with their newly restored home and loved inviting the locals in to marvel at how the old house was being reborn. Prudence and Constance had come down to see it during the Christmas holidays and had been less than impressed. Still in the throes of being renovated, the house was barely habitable at that stage, and the girls were billeted at a local hotel while the damp and mould in the bedrooms was being dealt with. "Oh, it's so cold," shivered Prue, clad in her newly striped dungarees and red ankle boots. "And spooky," added Connie, shaking her wash-and-wear perm so the corkscrews bounced nicely. Dorothy looked at them sternly. "There are no spooks here, and it's cold because the central heating hasn't been installed yet. Want to see your bedrooms?" "Do we get to choose?" asked Prue. "Well, let's see." Sighing inwardly, knowing that a jealous spat between the siblings was bound to ensue, Dorothy led the way upstairs. The three of them picked their way over the dust sheets, abandoned tools and other builders' detritus cluttering the landing to the first floor. Look at the view, girls. Dorothy threw open the door leading to the yellow room. Who wants this one, overlooking the garden and the cliff? Well, assuming their mother was showing them the best room in the hope of winning them over, Prue, who was always quickest off the mark when it came to getting what she wanted, jumped in. I do. Connie's shoulders slumped dramatically. I knew she'd get the first choice. It's not fair. I really like this room. Prue gets the best of everything. Fighting the urge to scream, Dorothy forced a bright smile and kept her voice jolly as she told them, Prudence, wipe that conceited look off your face. Now, Connie, please refrain from sulking. I have a super room for you. Follow me. Prue pushed past Connie, who whispered, You always get the best. And Prue replied, sotto voce, Tough shit, little sister. When their mother opened the door of the blue room, Connie's mouth dropped open as she took in the double aspect windows with views of the beach and the bay. Yes, she cried, fist punching the air. Yes, this has to be the best room. I love it. Thanks, Mum. Prue was now the one who was in a sulk. I thought you said you wanted the other room. Nope, this is mine, and that is yours. Fair's fair, eh, Mum? Dorothy, distracted by the screech of the plumber drilling in the ensuite, answered vaguely, yes, of course, darling. Now, sort it out between the pair of you. Off you go. Moments later, she was lost in a discussion about power showers and hot water tanks. Prue glared at Connie. Give me this room. No, you chose yours. This is mine. It's too big for you. No, it isn't. The other room suits you much better. Why? Well, yellow is your favourite colour. No, it isn't. I like blue. You're spoilt. You're jealous. Dorothy wandered back in from the bathroom. All settled, girls? Registering the sulky expressions on the girls' faces, she promptly abandoned all efforts to placate them. Oh, for heaven's sake, why don't you two go and explore on the beach before I banish the pair of you to the box room? You'll have plenty to mope about then, won't you? How am I doing? Just another little bit. Nothing more had been said about the bedrooms, not because Prue had given up, she was just biding her time. The family didn't visit Cornwall again until the Easter holidays, and that first day both sisters were squashed into the back of their father's new Range Rover, surrounded by the bedding, kitchenware and other household bits and pieces their mother had packed around them after they'd got in. Henry insisted on having Radio 4 on for the entire journey, so the girls plugged themselves into their Sonny Walkmans, staring glumly out of the windows at the passing traffic. At Bristol, they stopped for Elevenses. Moody as hell, Prue and Connie trooped in behind their parents, scowling at the food on offer in the cafeteria. Dorothy tried to adopt a light, cheery tone. OK, girls, what do you want? A donut, said Connie. That's very fattening, said Dorothy, looking pointedly at Connie's rounded tummy. Have an orange juice and a banana. Connie's lip wobbled, stung by the suggestion she was overweight. Prue, still plugged into her Walkman, didn't respond to anything. Prue, her mother asked. No response. Henry took the headphones off his elder daughter's ears and shouted, Take those bloody things off and answer your mother. Prue stared blankly. What? Your mother has asked you 3 times, what do you want to eat? Nothing, and she only asked me twice. Henry took the Walkman and headphones from Prue's hands and stuffed them in his pocket. Right, I'm confiscating these. But Dad, what do you want to eat? He barked again. Nothing, she shouted, and stalked off to W.H. Smith, throwing over her shoulder. This is so unfair. Henry nearly went after her, but Dorothy laid a hand on his arm. Let her go. I'll be glad of the peace. I think we've all had that kind of holiday trip in the car, haven't we? Both as child and as parent. But anyway, there you go. Right, now that was Wednesday. Will you join me tomorrow for Thursday? And what are we going to read tomorrow? Oh, yes, well, it's the travelling down in the car and a few rows. But anyway, it'll be fine. I hope you're enjoying it. Take care of yourself and see you tomorrow. Hello. 6:30, it's Thursday, and I'm reading you The Holiday Home by me. And so we've met the house, we've met the parents, Dorothy and Henry, we've met their children, Prudence and Constance. And now some decades later, the children are grown up and married, and this is them getting ready to go down to Cornwall to see their parents, okay? What on earth is your father doing now? Connie Wilson could feel her temper starting to rise. Greg, she shouted up the stairs. Come on, we've got to go. Calm down, she told herself. You've got the whole summer ahead of you. Don't let the holiday get off to a bad start. Don't let it get to you. Abigail, her daughter, sitting quietly on the sofa, bags packed and at her feet, looked up from her book. Though only 16, she had endured enough family holidays to realise how stressful her mother found the whole business. With an expressive shrug of the shoulders, she returned to her place on the page. Connie tossed her expensively. I've got a friend come to see me. Is that a daughter there?
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
That's all right, you can interrupt. Sorry. Sit down and listen with your cat.
With my cat.
Are you going?
I'm just getting this.
This is children, isn't it? Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Do you want to say hello?
Oh, if I may.
Yes, she is. This is Winifred.
Hello. I hope you're enjoying the book. It's very good.
She's never read it.
No, I haven't, but I'm sure it is. I've heard enough of it.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you were little when I wrote this.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Bye, love.
Bye.
Bit of family nonsense. Children. God, bloody hell. Never give you a minute, do they? Anyway, here we go. Yes, Abigail sitting on the sofa and reading a book with herself all packed up just goes, well, whatever. Connie tossed her expensively highlighted hair. Lockdown. Tossed her expensively highlighted hair back and put a hand over her eyes. God, we're going to be late again. Why does everybody leave it all to me? Abigail sat unmoving, peering over the top of her book, as her mother pulled the specks from her blonde hair and checked for the umpteenth time the long list of notes she'd made in her Smithson diary. Well? She looked at Abby pointedly. Abby indicated the bags at her feet. Mum, I'm all packed and ready to go. No, sorry, darling, I don't mean to be a grouch. It's just that I hate the thought of Prue getting there before us. Connie glanced towards the stair. What on earth is your father doing up there? Why is he taking so long? Rolling up the sleeves of her stripy sweet sweatshirt, she marched to the foot of the stairs and bellowed, Greg, please can you turn your computer off? Surely work can wait for a few hours. We need to get a move on. Upstairs, Greg had his feet propped up on the wide and empty expanse of his ultra-cool desk, or workspace, as he preferred to call it. This room was his oasis, a place of sanctuary from the bedlam of his wife's domain, a place of privacy. He slowly rocked himself on the ergonomically designed kid leather chair, sighing as he ran his hand through his wavy dark hair, now speckled with grey, much to his annoyance. And raising his voice, he shouted back, Darling, won't be a minute. Just got some loose ends to tie up at the office. Your father will want to have a full report as soon as I get there. He listened for a response from below, but none came. Then he turned back to the receiver of the phone. Sorry about that, Janie, he murmured into the receiver of his agonisingly trendy and sleek steel handset. That's all right, Greggy, returned the voice of a well-educated young woman. I'm so going to miss you. Oh, and I shall miss you, but I shall be thinking of you every moment of every day and every night, Janie, darling. You will call me when you get there, won't you, Greggy? Irritation flared in him. Janie was getting a bit too clingy. Greg! Connie was shouting again. Please hurry up! Oh, I've got so excited there. I nearly turned 2 pages. Sorry. Greg, beginning to lose interest, was eager to end the call. Yes, Con, I'm coming, he shouted, and then speaking softly back into the phone. I'll try. I've got to go, if only for Abigail's sake. He started to tidy his desk, closing the lid of his laptop, and looking round for its leather case. Lately, he'd found himself wondering whether the time had come to kick Janie into touch. I mean, lovely girl and all that, but it was asking for trouble having an affair with your secretary, especially when your father-in-law owned the company. Maybe he could pay her off, get her another job in a friend's company. He'd write her an excellent letter of recommendation. After all, she was very good at her job and very, very sexy. Greg Wilson considered himself a reasonable man, a man who was satisfactorily married while indulging in a slice of illicit cake. Surely it was expected that a man in his position would have a mistress. Then again, mixing business with pleasure, that was where he'd made a mistake. He'd have to give some thought to the Janie problem over the summer holidays. Janie, I really have to go. I'm only off to Cornwall, not to the other side of the world. I'll call when I can. Promise, Greggy, she purred. Promise. Greg was now standing up with the phone sandwiched between his shoulder and his ear, shoveling things into his briefcase. Bye-bye, baby cakes. Bye, sexy. And then he hung up. He'd added the baby cakes to keep her sweet. And she did have that kind of sexy secretary look, right down to an art. Business suits with tight pencil skirts and high heels and beautiful underwear that encased her 26-year-old derriere to perfection. He could hear the sound of a heavy suitcase being dragged across the hallway below. Taking one last look around the room to see if he'd forgotten anything, he gathered up his laptop and went downstairs to inspect the damage. His wife frowned up at him. Greg, how am I doing? Good for time. Greg, you know I want to leave as early as possible. We must get there before Prue. Oh, for God's sake, Connie, why you and that sister of yours insist on this ridiculous battle of wits each year is beyond me. And watch what you're doing to the floor. It costs a fortune to polish those marks out. Connie was at the front door with the largest of 3 suitcases. She turned very slowly, took a deep breath, was on the verge of saying something unkind, but thought the better of it, and instead she continued towards the front door. Here, let me help you before you scuff the paintwork as well. It would have been nice if you'd spared the time to do your own packing as well, Connie muttered, then more loudly, I think I can manage, thank you. Greg moved towards her just as she got the front door open. There ensued an unseemly scuffle as he tried to wrench the case from her hand, and she held fast. It was Abigail who stepped in. Mum, Dad, why do we have to start every summer holiday with all this aggro? It will be brilliant once we get there, and we're going to have a lovely time, and that's that. So let's get on the freaking road. Meanwhile, 50 miles away, in an expensive corner of southeast London, Connie's sister, Prue, was waiting for her pedicure to dry. She'd been up since 4, tying up a few overnight loose ends that her overseas office had thrown up. These commercial surveyors could be such a bore, but now she was lying on the bed in her extremely white and bright but sparsely furnished bedroom, a room so desperately tasteful it wouldn't have looked out of place between the covers of Elle Decoration. In fact, it might have been in between the covers of Elle Decoration. She watched as her beauty therapist packed away the many pots of nail polish and lotions she had used on her client. Thank you so much, Esther. I love this colour. What's it called again? Panty Glimmer, said Esther, a tall, slender girl with a violent fake tan. Panty Glimmer? Where did he get these names from? I should think taupe was a perfectly adequate description. Yeah, deadpanned Esther, but not very sexy, is it? Prue was about to argue the merits of taupe, one of her favourite shades in decor and clothing, but was stopped by a gentle knock at the door. Enter, Prue called. The door opened quietly and the slightly anxious face of her husband, Francis, appeared. Oh, hello, darling. Oh, you look marvellous. He took an appreciative sniff of the room. Lovely smell. What is it, Esther? Ylang-ylang, geranium and sandalwood. It's very good on ageing skin. Beneath her perfectly styled, short and sleek brown hair, Prue's face stiffened and her blue eyes took on a look that could only be described as icy. Francis hurriedly said, Well, that'll be lovely when my wife needs it. He turned to Prue. Jeremy and I are ready when you are. I've packed the car and I've got some sushi for the journey. In the cool box? Yes. Is there fuel in the tank? Yes. Well, give me 10 minutes. Oh, and remind Jeremy that once we start, there's no stopping. I want to be there in under 4 hours. Righto. Francis went downstairs, confident that he hadn't forgotten anything. Exactly 10 minutes later, having sent the evader beautician packing, Prue swept out of the house to find her 16-year-old son already in the back seat, iPod headphones stuffed in his ears, and her husband waiting to shut the front door. "Is the alarm primed?" "Yes," Frances nodded. "Are the window locks checked?" "Yes." "Prue, it's all sorted." "Good, let's go." Prue walked to the driver's side and got in. The keys were not in the ignition, and Frances heard her tut of annoyance, and realising his mistake, hurriedly pulled the keys from his pocket and handed them over. "Sorry, darling." Prue checked her face in the wing mirror and started the engine. "My skin isn't getting old, is it, Frances?" "Good Lord, no." Frances smiled at her. "I didn't think so." She slammed the gear stick into drive and pulled away in a spray of gravel before either son or husband had done their seatbelts up. And this is the setting for an interesting summer holiday in Cornwall. I like this one. This is one of my favourites. I don't know why. It was only the third one I wrote, actually, but I started to get into my stride, I hope. I'm loving writing. I'm writing now for a book that's coming out next year. It's a lot of research to do, so hang on for that one. Thanks again for listening, and it's nice to just spend time with you. And so take care of yourselves, have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow, end of the week. Where do days go? I don't know. Anyway, toodaloo, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey up, Friday. And that might not just be only tonic in here. Oh, that's very nice. You know, the weather's been quite warm, so I didn't light the fire. Get your money back on this Fern by the Fireside lark. But look, these have been dripping endlessly over the week. It's rather nice, isn't it? So thank you for that. Maybe next week, if it gets chilly, I'll light the fire again. I'll never try to shortchange you. Right, here we go. So the girls, Connie and Prue, are driving separately to Cornwall in some kind of race to get to the Atlantic house, their parents' summer house in Cornwall, before anyone else does. Connie was aware that she was clenching her jaw, her shoulders were up around her neck, and her hands are in tight fists in her lap. "Can't you drive any faster? This is a motorway. You can do 80 without getting stopped." "The police accept that." "No, Connie. The limit is 70 and that's what I shall stick to. I've got 9 points already. If I get stopped again, they'll throw the book at me. Can you imagine what your father would say? The expenses I put in for chauffeured cars last time I got banned were horrendous." Connie bit her lip and looked out of the window to distract herself. They were passing the exit for Bristol Parkway Station. The junction for the M5 wasn't far, just another half an hour, and then they'd be at Taunton Dean services. She could have done with a loo stop and a Costa coffee, but she was determined to arrive at Atlantic House ahead of Prue. This year, the best bedroom was going to be hers. She knew that she was behaving stupidly. I mean, this happened every year, and every year she got angry with herself for getting sucked into yet another silly, juvenile spat with Prue. Most of the time, Connie was a normal person. Loving mum, good wife, someone who knew how to enjoy herself with friends and who appreciated her luck in life. But at the prospect of getting within 10 feet of Prue, Connie started acting like a whiny, jealous teenager. It was infuriating that after all these years, she was still letting Prue get to her. But her sister's competitive streak, combined with her superior attitude, were too much to bear. God only knew how Frances and dear Jeremy managed to put up with the woman. Connie was convinced that it was only thanks to Frances that Jem had turned out to be such a well-adjusted kid. Mind you, neither he nor Abby were kids anymore. Abby's 17th birthday was fast approaching, and she'd be taking her A-levels next year and choosing a university. For a moment, Connie allowed herself to wonder what Archie would have been doing now. Even after all these years, it was hard to think about the little boy she'd miscarried 4 months before she fell pregnant with Abby. Prue hadn't attended his funeral. She'd been in New York on business, and she changed the subject whenever Connie mentioned him, closing the door on that particular heartbreak. Connie looked at her watch and was horrified to see the time. Hearing her muttering under her breath, Greg glanced her way. Can't you just let your sister have the room she wants? She inevitably gets it anyway. Exactly my point. She always gets Mummy and Daddy's old bedroom. It's warmer, it's bigger, it has the best view from upstairs. She knows it's my turn this year, yet she always wangles her way in. You and I deserve that room for a change. Does it really matter? You'll be asleep anyway. You won't see the view. Besides, we get her old bedroom, the blue bedroom. The blue room that was meant for me and that she took. Darling, that was almost a quarter of a century ago. Quite. She had the best room all those years. Now I want Mummy and Daddy's room. I like to go to sleep to the sound of the sea and wake up to the sunshine. And anyway, the blue room is so dated and dingy. Why should I have Prue's cast-offs? Greg, who'd speeded up to overtake a horse box, pulled back into the inside lane and slowed down. An elderly Vauxhall with several young lads in it overtook him. What did they do that for? What did you do that for? What? Let those yobs through. They weren't yobs, and if they had been, what would be the point of upsetting them and risking them ramming me off the road? Connie sighed in frustration and looked again at her watch. Francis tried to look as relaxed as possible, though he couldn't stop himself casting nervous glances at the speedometer as the needle hovered over 110 miles an hour. His legs were getting numb where they were jammed in the footwell against the cool box. It made him nervous when Prue drove. Understandably. He tried to comfort himself with the thought that at least they would all die together. This annual race between the sisters for the best room in Atlantic House was a mystery to him. All the rooms were lovely, a bit dated and faded perhaps, but that was part of the charm of the place. He resisted the desire to brace himself and grip the armrests as Prue advanced aggressively, then braked hard a few feet from the rear wheels of an innocent Renault Scenic with 3 bicycles strapped to its roof and a back window full of teddies and a potty. "Get out of the way, you moron!" she hissed, rapidly tugging the stalk that flashed her headlights. "Use your mirrors and you'll see me." The Renault stayed resolutely where it was, in the outside lane and pottering along at a reasonable 75 miles per hour. "Right," said Prue, and suddenly swerved to the left, then accelerated hard, undertaking the smaller car and blasting her horn as she did so. The driver and wife stared in astonishment as the mad woman rushing past them in a blur. She swung the steering wheel to the right, causing them to brake, and pulled out in front of them. "Ha! That's better." Francis was aware he hadn't taken a breath for a few seconds and took a quick gasp. Prue looked over at him. "What's the matter?" "Nothing, my love." "Good. I think we're going to do this journey in record time." Francis paled. "Great." Jeremy's voice came from the back. "Are we stopping to eat?" "No," said Prue. Francis rustled around in the cool box at his feet. "Would you like me to feed you a bite-sized sushi, Prue?" Prue didn't take her eyes from the bumper of the Porsche in front of her. "I'm driving." Righty-ho. 115, 117 miles per hour. "I'll have one." Jeremy's hand came over the back of his father's seat. "Is there anything to drink?" His mother cut in. "Don't give him anything to drink. I told you I am not stopping. And I want to get to Atlantic House before my idiot sister and her husband stake a claim on our room. When I inherit the house, as eldest child, we shan't ever have this ridiculous argument again." And to emphasise her point, she rammed her foot on the accelerator. That was when they heard the wail of a police siren. Is that taking you back to memories of long car journeys to go on your holidays? As a child, as an adult, does me. Well, obviously that's why I wrote it. There's lots of there that has happened in holidays I've experienced. But that's life, isn't it? As you drive along in the car and nobody stops. And in the olden days, everyone was smoking at the same time. So, coming down to Cornwall in the car, my mother and my grandmother, this is obviously back in 1962, both of them in the front seat, smoking like anything. My sister and I in the back, living in a cloud. But anyway, fortunately, we recovered, we survived, it was all right. And I hope you survive this coming weekend. Let's hope that we have a good one, and stay safe, look after yourselves. On Sunday, don't forget, there's the omnibus edition of me reading these books. And then I'll see you on Monday, 6:30. And the next book is, A Seaside Affair. Okay, so that's what we're going to start on Monday. Thank you for being here and listening and just being kind, really. Thank you very much. So I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves, and here's to a good weekend. Bye.